Oh, what a beautiful day. I can't wait to spend it doing illicit substances.
What a coincidence! I have a new strain of the devil's lettuce. It's called Utopia. Try it.
So how do you feel?
Disappointed, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. I just, I'd kind of hoped for more, I guess?
Yeah, so I remember doing something like this as a child, but, it was better than this.
Right. Do you want to make complaining about this our entire personality for the next 10 years?
Oh yeah, totally.
Good afternoon, Jank enthusiasts. I'm MBT, and this is 10-Minute Testing. Today I ask of you one humble request. Envision, if you can, a perfect society, an ethical wonderland, a world with no currency, no inequality, and no pendulum monsters. A utopia. But not that utopia, the unplayable Xyz monster.
Let's see what this baby's got.
Before we get into the video, just a quick heads up here. Those of you that have been following my journey into the maze of metal foes know that I built the last 10-minute testing in paper, and just look at that fantastic hand that I definitely did not set out before we started. Here they are in my brand spanking new card sleeves from yourplaymat.com. That's right, there's finally a custom card sleeve manufacturer for Yu-Gi-Oh! Sizes in the United States, and they look, I mean, just excellent. I've got them here in the prismatic God Box outers, and they feel fantastic. So if you would like a little bit off your own custom sleeves, use the code MBT10YP at checkout at yourplaymat.com. So here's the list, and this might be a little too dual links for me. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course, the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck has a deck builder, pack opener, card database, and a wealth of strategy articles. It's also where I post the Chalice Line monthly deck breakdowns, so give it a look at www.ygoprodeck.com. Okay, let's understand Utopia. So the year is 2011. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is experiencing its first taste of Gen 1ers, as people who never figured out how to add numbers together in kindergarten are simply too confused by synchros and have spent the last 3 years claiming that Yu-Gi-Oh! Was a great game until Armory Arm ruined everything. It's time to breathe life into Yu-Gi-Oh! Following an embarrassing final season of 5Ds and a prolonged legal battle with Upper Deck Entertainment. As the new sole provider of Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards, Konami needs a win. It comes in the form of Zexal and the Xyz monsters, a promising new television series and a sweet new summoning type with a slick black card frame. The first of these monsters, number 39 Utopia, debuts in the 2011 starter deck. Called Hope in the OCG, to players and administrators, it represented much more than just an archetype. Quick side note, the reason Utopia wasn't called Hope in America is explained in a forum post from US Head of Development for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game Kevin Tuert, which is just a little bit too funny to pass up. 1. Hope is a dumb name for a monster. Might be cool if you had no idea what the word means, as is the case in Japan, where English words like this work fine. 2. The word hope is a highly charged political slogan, unlike Utopia, from 2008, which we would see again in 2012. This problem would come up again in 2016 when Konami revealed Playmaker's ace, Build the Wall Dragon. 4. Hope is a girl's name. Unfortunately, these new monsters and new show would suffer a fate Yu-Gi-Oh! Has experienced time and time again. The cards became too complex, the show's appeal never took root, and we tried again next season. Despite this, Utopia's been a perennial player throughout the Yu-Gi-Oh! Metagame. In 2011 and 2012, it was always a consideration, as it was the most accessible Xyz for new players. S39 Utopia Prime and C39 Utopia Ray can be overlaid on top of an Exodia, so they found a home in extra decks until people discovered they needed to use their 15 slots wisely. Utopic Future was a tech choice for burning Abyss decks that needed clean outs to problem monsters. Utopia Kaiser was a prize card that featured in many extremely expensive FTK lists, and Utopia the Lightning was a power player throughout the 2016 NAWCQ format as a high-attack monster that prevented Cosmo ships and Beatrice from triggering. Finally, Utopia Double sees play to this day in decks that can manage 2 level 4 monsters for a Saki OTK. There are Utopia-specific support cards, but none of them have yet delivered on the hope of Zexal. Until now, Leov will contain a series of ZW, or Zexal Weapon cards, that will push even a Yuma caliber duelist across the finish line. Early testing of this deck looked extremely promising, with lockout setups on the play and OTKs on the draw. And then the unthinkable happened. Number S0, Utopic Zexal, was banned. Without this monster, the deck goes from, well, as good as the second half of Zexal to as bad as the first half. That said, it does still have some decent tools, a continuous spell that'll draw us upwards of 6 cards a turn, a near towers of a monster, so we're still going to try and wring some playability out of these bad boys. So with that, let's get into the card by card. First, our Zexal Weapon cards. Now, because you're going to be searching a couple of these over the course of your combo, you want to be playing exactly 3 copies with different names. These are the 3 best ones. Tornado Bringer prevents the monster that it is equipped to from being targeted by your opponent's card effects. Lightning Blade prevents your opponent from destroying ZW cards you control, and Pegasus Twin Saber negates monster effects. Now, it's a very interesting form of negation. It doesn't give the monster an effect with a colon that allows it to negate a monster effect. It negates a monster effect upon resolution. This means that, like Cerulean Skyfire, it's a continuously applied effect that lets you choose whether an effect will resolve without running into monster effect negation. It is a really ingenious way to prevent your opponent from popping off. Next are 2 new monsters, ZS Arms Sage and ZS Ascend Sage. Arms Sage can be special summoned if you have only a level 4 monster on your side of the field, and a Utopia monster Xyz summoned using this as material adds a ZW monster from your deck to your hand on summon. Ascend Sage can be summoned when you control no cards, and that includes Change Tactics, as I found out the hard way 30 or 40 times, and on summon allows you to add a rank up magic normal spell from your deck to your hand. After that, we've got the Duel Link Special, the Onomot League. We've got Zubaba Bancho Gagaga Coat, 2 Utopic Onomatopoeia, and 1 Dododo Dwarf Go 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 Glove. This is just recursive rank 4 material. For spells, we're on 1 Zexal Entrust. Because we search Zexal normal spells over the course of our combo, we want 1 target for when we either have all of the rank up magics we need or don't need any more. This allows you to reborn a Utopia from your graveyard. The turn after you activate it, if your opponent's life points are higher than yours by 2,000, you can banish it to target a Zexal spell trap and add it back to your hand. After that, we're on 3 Onomatopoeia to add our Xyz material from our deck to our hand and a reinforcement of the army for the same reason, followed by 3 Rank Up Magic Zexal Force. This card is unbelievable. It allows you to target an Xyz monster you control, then special summon from your extra deck a Utopia or ZW monster 1 rank higher, and then if your opponent's life points are 2,000 points higher than yours, you can banish it from your graveyard to draw a card. That's not on the next turn, it's on the turn you activated it, which will matter in a second. After that is this card, Zexal Construction. It's not fantastic, but it does search any ZW monster, any ZS monster, any Zexal spell trap, or any rank up or rank down magic spell card. Unfortunately, it comes at the cost of 1 of the cards in your hand, and you usually need most of them. We're playing an Upstart Goblin as well as 3 copies of Generation Force. The deck lists I saw weren't maxed out on this, which was crazy to me. This card is unbelievable. It searches the best card in your deck, Xyz Change Tactics, but because we're on 3 and might draw more than 1 of them, it's not a hard once per turn, we might as well play 1 additional card, Xyz Import. This is a removal spell that allows you to attach an opponent's monster to your monster as an Xyz material. Fantastic, ingenious piece of removal that gets around a lot of destruction-based prevention. We're on 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet. We have a lot of stuff on our side of the field we want to send to the graveyard. A double or nothing. We are never going to use the effect of this card, but it is necessary to be in the deck for a majority of our combos. 3 Xyz Change Tactics. Now, at the present moment, this is the reason to play the deck. When a Utopia monster is Xyz summoned to your field, pay 500, draw a card. That is not once per turn. Because the Utopias rank up into themselves, you can pretty easily draw 5 or 6 cards over the course of a combo with this turn. Hands that have this card are really good, and hands that don't are really bad. Finally, we've got 2 copies of Onomata Pickup in order to find Para. In the extra deck, we're on, big surprise here, Negalogia AA Zeus, followed by number 99, Utopic Dragon. This can be summoned by discarding a rank-up magic spell card. Our best boards are going to include this card, and we will go through each copy of our rank-up magic Zexal Force as well. We're on ZW Dragonic Halberd. We've got to get this card. Wow. This card can be summoned off of rank-up magic Zexal Force, and once per turn can add a Zexal spell trap from your deck to your hand. Functionally, it cycles a Zexal Force for itself. You can also target a Utopia monster you control to equip this to it and give it 3,000 attack, and you draw a whole bunch of cards and special summon a bunch of monsters if you ever destroy a monster by battle with an equipped monster, but that never ends up happening in practice. We're on a copy of number C39 Utopia Ray V. Theoretically, this comes up, but it never did in testing. Utopia the Lightning, of course, is very good, not only as a way to out-problem monsters, but also as an additional draw off of Xyz's Change Tactics. Wow, Dragonic Utopia Ray is incredible. This card can be summoned by Zexal Forcing, and once per turn, when it's targeted for an attack by a card effect, you can equip a ZW monster from your hand or deck to the card as if it were equipped by its own effect. Functionally, if you have a ZW in hand, something like a Tornado Bringer, you can target the Utopia Ray and then use the effect of Utopia Ray to equip the Pegasus from your deck. It's just fantastic. Additionally, once per turn, you can detach a material from this card to negate the effects of monsters your opponent controls up to the number of ZWs equipped to this card, which is almost always going to be 3. We've got Utopia Prime and Utopia Ray in here. Their effects don't really matter. They're just an additional draw off of Xyz's Change Tactics. We've got 3 Utopias, and yes, you need to play all 3. We've got Tornado Dragon and Gagaga Magician. This is a little crusty, but you need Gagaga Magician to be able to bring back Tornado Dragon so you can use 2 non-number monsters to go into Utopic Future. It doesn't come up a ton, but when it does, it's really important. And finally, a number 39 Utopia Double. This starts all of your combos, and it's also able to dodge stuff like Infinite Impermanence. If you use an Arm Sage and an Ascend Sage to overlay into a Utopia Double, for example, add 2 cards from your deck to your hand, your opponent chains an Infinite Impermanence, you can chain the Utopia Double to rank this sucker up to a Utopia at instant speed. So, we aim to make a huge Towers monster and beat our opponent out of the game with an absolutely unaffected Dingus. I don't know if that's going to be enough. Let's get into the games. Our first match is up against Phantom Knights, and... listen, I apologize about the quality of this one, but I really wanted to show off just what this deck is capable of. This just so happens to be the worst Phantom Knight hand I have ever seen in my entire life. Our opponent's going to normal summon an Ancient Cloak, activate the effect, and pass. We draw a second Arm Sage for turn. We'll activate this Upstart Goblin. Ooh, Zexal Construction. Don't mind if I do. We'll activate the effect in order to get a copy of Ascend Sage, which we will summon alongside the Arm Sage before activating Xyz's Change Tactics and summoning this Utopia Double. Utopia Double will trigger twice here, both for the Ascend Sage and the Arm Sage, to which our opponent will chain an Infinite Impermanence. We'll chain the effect of the Utopia Double, overlaying for a Utopia and adding a double or nothing to hand. We don't get the draw here because it misses timing. Xyz's Change Tactics is a when you can, but not to worry, we're going to draw a ton of cards over the course of the turn. We'll go for the rank up Magic Zexal Force into Dragonic Utopia Ray. Just an unbelievably powerful card. We'll stack the top of our deck and then draw it with the Xyz's Change Tactics, and then draw an additional card off of the graveyard effect of the Zexal, which finds us an Onomatopoeia of all things. We'll go into all 3 of the Onomat monsters, and then a Tornado Dragon, just something to get this Utopic Onomatopoeia into the graveyard so we can bring it back with the Zubaba Bancho Gagaga Coat. We'll equip our Dragonic with a Lightning Blade, which triggers its effect and allows us to equip from deck a copy of Pegasus Twin Saber. We'll activate the second Xyz's Change Tactics as we make another Utopia, equip our monster with a Tornado Bringer, go into Utopia Ray, trigger Xyz's Change Tactics one last time, and go to the battle phase, at which point we realize we activated Upstart Goblin over the course of the turn, so we're not going to be able to kill our opponent yet. Instead, we'll go into a Negalogia and pass back to them. They're going to activate the graveyard effect of Ancient Cloak, normal summon a copy of Ragged Gloves, special summon a Stained Greaves and a Silent Boots, overlay for a Leviair, activate the effect. At resolution, we will negate with the effect of our Pegasus Twin Saber, and they will go ahead and fetch a Fogblade, concede by attacking into our Zeus, and we take it. So it's time for game 2, and our opponent is playing S-Force. Now, a lot of people have asked me to play an S-Force deck, and to them I say, why? To what end? Notably, this hand contains Generation Force and already has a rank-up Magic Zexal Force, so we'll get to pop off just a little bit harder than we have in previous games. We're going to start with a copy of Onomatopoeia, ditching this Xyz import, and then fire off the Ascend Sage and the Utopic Onomatopoeia. The Onomatopoeia is going to summon a Zubaba Bancho Gagaga Coat. We're going to make a double first here because we need to control an Xyz monster to activate Generation Force. We add the Xyz Change Tactics to hand, and now we can pop off. We'll go for Utopia Double and go into a Utopia. That's going to draw us 1 card. Next, we are going to activate the Upstart Goblin we ripped off the top. Ooh, that's a nice one. And then activate the graveyard effect of Zubaba Bancho Gagaga Coat. We'll go into Utopia Prime, drawing another card off of the tactics, and then rank up Magic Zexal Force, this time for a copy of Dragonic Halberd. We're going to put a copy of one of the ZWs on top of our deck before specialing a Zubaba Bancho Gagaga Coat, and we're just looking for any freebie here. We're going to draw another card with the Xyz Change Tactics overlay again for Ray and draw another one. Rhoda's good, but for some reason, Arm Sage isn't a freebie. So we are going to activate the Zexal Force here. We'll trigger the effect of the Xyz Change Tactics to draw the card that we stacked on top, then activate the Graveyard effect to draw another card before going for Construction to get into Zexal and Trust for next turn. Like last time, we're going to equip all of these EW weapons that we can to our copy of Dragonic Utopia Ray and pass back to our opponent. That one card on our side of the field that's just sitting there like an idiot, the Zubaba Bancho Gagaga Coat, is looking pretty stupid now. Our opponent starts their turn with a copy of Pot of Disparity. They're going to add a Sublime Knight to hand. They'll normal summon the Sublime Knight and activate the effect. I only know this as a way to get to Isold, so I go ahead and negate this. Next, they'll go for Ecclesia. They'll use Ecclesia to get a copy of Fleur-de-Lis, then summon the Fleur-de-Lis, and because it doesn't target, they are able to negate the effects of our Dragonic Utopia Ray. They'll increase the attack of all of their monsters and crash with mine, and then set 3 cards and pass turn. So there's an easy victory here. All I have to do is activate the effect of Dragonic Utopia Ray, which I don't do. We do kind of go off here. We're going to activate Zexal and Trust to bring back this copy of Utopia, and then because we have a Rank Up Magic in our hand, we can pitch it to go into Utopic Dragon, use it to bring back a Utopia, and then overlay for Utopia the Lightning, drawing an additional card. We'll go to Battle Phase, and because Ecclesia can't be destroyed, we are just a little bit off lethal. God dang it. If I had just read my old nemesis. We do get to go into AA Zeus again. We'll pass back to our opponent. They're going to activate Pot of Disparity for a second time, one of those hands, and this time they're going to take the S-Force Bridgehead. This is one of those extremely broken field spells they just give out willy-nilly these days. They'll activate that sucker that adds from deck to hand a copy of Rapachi Amaru. They're going to use its effect and the effect of S-Force Chase to bounce our Pegasus. Uh-oh, now we don't have a monster effect. Where's this going? They're going to go Edge Laser into the Rapachi Amaru before link summoning Security Force Justify, which banishes the monsters that it attacks at the start of the damage step, but we're going to be able to activate the on-field effect of Draconic Utopia Ray, re-equipping the Pegasus Twin Saber and negating the effect before it resolves. Pain. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's playing Dragon Link, and Jesus, wow. Oh gosh. Okay, it looks like they've opened 2 hand traps plus a starter. Even the driver in the grip isn't that bad. We're going to do what we can. We're going to begin with a copy of Zexal Construction. We need a ZSSN Sage, and they do let us get it. We'll go for it and a Utopic Onomatopoeia to make it double. We'll activate the effect to get a copy of Rank Up Magic Zexal Force. We'll activate Generation and shoot. Okay, I guess we won't be drawing 15 times this turn. We'll activate the effect of Utopia Double and eat a Gamma. We're going to set an Xyz import and hope for the best. And a Chaos Space off the top. Come on. We'll go for Chamber Dragon Maid here to get a copy of Tidying before activating Chaos Space in order to add a White Dragon Wyver Burster to hand, then activating the Graveyard effect to draw an additional Chaos Space, hilariously. We'll go for a Striker Dragon next and the Wyver Burster to make Dragoonity Knight Romulus. They'll trigger the effect of Wyver Burster for a Black Dragon Collapse Serpent and the Romulus for a copy of Dragon Ravine, which they will then activate, pitching this second copy of Chaos Space to send a copy of Absurauto to the graveyard. They'll get a Synchron to hand before activating Boot Sector Launch and getting it onto the field. From there, they can special summon a copy of Black Dragon Collapse Serpent and make Striker Dragon plus our good old pal Gar Dragon LP. When is this card getting banned? They'll go for a Brotar and pitch their last card, a Tidying, for a Chaos Dragon Levianeer, so they can make a Pisty and a Spheres afterwards, bringing back a Tracer that has not yet used its effect. They're going to go for Boral Sword because they do have the OTK, but at least they have the goodwill to get the one that looks like the meme of John Lennon walking. They're going to go for a Chaos Ruler off of this Tracer and find off the top. Wow, pretty much anything they could ever want. They're going to go for the Noctivision and the Dingirsu. That Dingirsu is going to send our last remaining card, and finally they'll activate Cleaning and Tidying to go into Striker Dragon one more time. They'll add this copy of Tracer back to hand just in case, but I don't know what they're planning for. We will take well over lethal. So it's time for game 2, and while our hand looks quite a bit better than it did in the last one, we don't have access to Xyz Change Tactics. Despite the fact that our opponent lacks a hand trap and can't impede our go-off turn, when we're forced to play fair, it does not end well. We're going to lead with a copy of Reinforcement of the Army. This is going to get a Zubaba Bancho Gagaga Coat, and we're going to special summon an Ascend Sage. We'll follow that up with a Zexal Construction for the Arm Sage. We'll then overlay for a Utopia Double, and while we can't draw any cards off this, we can add 2 from our deck to our hand, a Lightning Blade and the Rum. From here, we can activate the effect of Utopia Double for a double or nothing to go into Utopia, and then activate the Rum in order to go into ZW Draconic Halberd. We can stack the top of our deck, but we unfortunately can't draw it. We'll then activate the effect of Dragonic Halberd to get another Rum to our hand before special summoning this copy of Zubaba Bancho Gagaga Coat, firing off another Rum, and going into Utopia Ray. From here, we can activate the effect of ZW Lightning Blade in our hand, and then trigger the effect of Draconic Utopia Ray to equip a Pegasus Twin Saber. Finally, we'll activate the on-field effect of Draconic Halberd, putting this monster at 7,700 attack. So here's the theory. There's not a lot our opponent can use to get over our Dragonic Utopia Ray. The effect negation effect of Pegasus Twin Saber is so comprehensive that we can even negate what I expect to be the only out they are playing, the damage decreasing effect of Boral Sword Dragon. That's the only card on my radar right now. Our opponent is comboing off, bringing back this Chambered Dragon Maid, going into LP. God, I hate this. And then activating the effect of World Legacy Guard Dragon to move the LP so they can activate LP's effect to summon a copy of Seyfert. They'll activate the effect of Seyfert, pitching this copy of Tracer to get a DMD, to go into Wyver Burster, to go into the big boy himself, just as I feared. Okay, well, we have a plan for this. They'll go for Levianeer, but the only card on our side of the field that can be destroyed right now is the Double or Nothing, which I don't care about. They'll go into Tracer and Chaos Ruler. They'll activate the effect of Chaos Ruler, fighting off the top. I imagine Noctivision. Yep, there it is again. They'll get that sucker to their hand and then activate the Graveyard effect of Chaos Space. Next, they'll go into DMD, bring back this copy of Tracer, and I imagine they're just going to get a 4 and make an 8, and... Oh, why would they... Oh, shoot. Okay, Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss can negate the on-field effect of one face-up card I control, and by negating the effect of the Pegasus Twin Saber, they can prevent it from being equipped as an equip spell. From here, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump through a Dingirsu into lethal. So, we're back with the deck, and yeah, without S0, it's a bit of a bust. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1. It is really hard to remove your one monster. Targeting protection, destruction protection for the targeting protection, and 7,700 attack is a tall order. And if it ever makes it back to your turn, it's an easy victory. Provided you read your own cards. 2, it's a deck that lives and dies based on its most powerful cards, but each of its powerful plays comes packaged with a ton of searchers. And 3, drawing 16 cards in one turn is fun. Sorry. And the cons. 1, there is no S0. I do not know how I feel about this. So on one hand, kneecapping a deck before it ever had a chance to prove itself feels very, very bad. But on the other hand, the gameplay that the S0 variant would have given us is exactly the same as VFD format. I mean, I want new decks, but I also want them to be fun. 2, the ZSs have inane conditions. Why can't I summon Ascend unless I clear my own Xyz change? Why can't I summon Arms with an Xyz monster on the field? It seems like they're not meant to play in the deck they were printed for. And 3, honestly, if the payoff is just a big guy, it's just bad yep double. All in all, this deck is neat, but it's not as meta-breaking as we expected when we first read the cards. So that's that. As always, thanks to my patrons Dominic Ernst, Hakuo, AJBYGO, Alex Perea, BB Poison, Blue Fanfiction Inc., Caleb Jasa, Chibi Gohan, Connor Kid, Crispy, Dimsum05, Dubs Rewatcher, Frosty, Jack Sack PhD, King Magic Ruler, Night Mary, Kylie Denton, Major Rusty, Matt, Mike Carlotti, Phoenix Strix, Rocky Hernandez, Rose Lapine, Sarah Routledge, Seeker, Space Dandy 1993, Adam Trevino, Adrian Bra, Amida Lafandi, Alex Dominguez, Alfred Hendricks, Amaranta V, Andrew Benson, Andrew Ferruia, Andrew Horseman, Apex TCG, Ballin Stalin, Based Madoka, Billy Williams, Blake Root, Bleh, Brandon Keys, Candide, Captain Breadbeard, Chad Bortz, Chad Weatherington, Chorps Away, CJ Alex, Cole Julian, Control for the Win, Crystal Red Fox, Cubic is the best deck. Daffy Deathclock, Dan the Manhoban, Danny Guadalupe, Darcy Tebbs, Dive Missile, Dogma, Dominic Chris, Doug Parslow, Dr. Batman, Dying Eyes, Distrin, Emperor Stove, Ernesto Ibarra, Fighting Fangwong, Fisker Whiskers, FUTR, Game of Wolf, Gavin K, Hank Cheesecake, Helios the Helios, Haroof, How to Lose, Josemina, Isaac Jackson, Jalen Ya, Jason Leonard, Jay Gordon, Jeff Leonard, Jonathan Wallace, Jupe, Jose Luis Cortez, Joy or John, Juliet Julian, Callie, Corey Hess, Gurukaze, Lake Bayer, Lawrence, Lightsworn Gorgon, Lottie, Lovro Plesse, Lucas Engels, Lucas Girdis, Lucas Arizo Hansen, Major Duncan, Malleus, Matthew Taylor, Max, Meadow Edits, Mezzo Emrys, Michael Oskvarik, Miles Edgelord, Mimes Are Creepy, Miska Aronin, Miyuna Arashi, Nicholas Alexander, Nick Extreme 99, Niru Soup, Nitro Skull, Nix Dolores, No Penguin, Omase, One Glad Morning, Oustrin, Papa Dragonite, Par 2, Picnic Blasted, Precise Spike 13, Pro FP2, Sam Pinney, Sam Soon, Sapphic Ashley, Scrafted, Sean Deal, Sean Flynn, Sendoria, Standards Objective, Swinkles, Tate Rosencutter, The Carl Moxley, The Saucy Pickle, This Machine 237, Thought Auditor, TJ Steakhouse, Yuri's Best, Oli Bjarki Austfioro, and Yukie. If you like what you see, please consider subscribing. And if you want to be part of the process, consider following me on Twitch as well. See you next time.